Alrighty. What's up, people? How we darn? How we darn? How we darn? Hope you guys are having a fantastic day and you're ready to talk some Dynasty football, some strategy, some potential trades, some moves. I'm going to be helping people with their Dynasty teams today and giving them some direction moving forward, talking about where they stand in their league, what sort of moves we can make that might benefit us long term. And you know what, Styles? It could be whiteboard season. In fact, I'm glad you said that because that makes me want to get a whiteboard ready in case we need it. Honestly, there's probably times where we don't even need a whiteboard. And I'm just like, yeah, let's write it out. But it's just fun. It's just fun, isn't it? But thanks for joining us, guys. Do me a favor, as the stream is just getting started, and hit that like button to show some love. Last week, we were able to get to 11K, which is absolutely awesome. 15K is our next milestone we're trying to reach. So appreciate everybody for the love, for the support, and super excited about the content that we've got scheduled for y'all. But I see you in the chat. Let me know who I'm hanging out with. Mystic says first, let's go Dynasty Land. I see some people joining the league. You love to see it. Nelson says, hey everyone, today's a big day. Starts of the franchise tags and getting closer and closer to these rookie mocks. That's right. The franchise tag season has begun. And unfortunately for all of us who were excited about T. Higgins potentially being a free agent, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like he's probably going to come back to the Bengals on a franchise tag. But hey, maybe they tag and trade. You never know. Tag and trade. What's up, Derek? Says, salute, bro. I am back and I am up next in my draft last night. Hey, man, we'll see if we can. I'm going to be helping people who are supporting us over on the Flock fantasy site for most of the night. What's up, NK1? That is one of the teams we are helping out tonight. What's up, Nate? Welcome in, welcome in. But like I mentioned at the beginning, guys, do us a favor. Hit that like button to show some love. The entire point of tonight's stream is to help out the people who are supporting us over on the Flock Fantasy website with their Dynasty teams and giving them a more personalized experience when it comes to, you know, what direction they should move into, where they stand in their league, and, you know, some generalized advice. So we are going to be looking at Joey's team here in a second. Now, it's very likely that either people who are watching this live or later would like to know how they can get their team reviewed by yours truly. It's very, very simple. I'll put a direct link in the chat. It's also in the description if you're watching later. But all you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member on the Flock Fantasy website with our promo code LAND. You have got to use the LAND promo code to get our team review. You also unlock our 2024 Dynasty Rookie Report when you sign up. Version 2.0 is already out. We're super excited for the Combine and eventually version 3, which we'll release after that. You also get access to all of our rankings and unlimited access to the Dynasty Trade Calculator, as well as unlocking all the Discord premium channels. So we appreciate y'all. Like I mentioned, hit that like button, but that's how you can get your team reviewed. So Joey T is the first name here. Joey, thank you for your support. We'll be looking at your team. Is Joey on the live stream? Always love being able to talk to our people on the live streams while we are reviewing their teams. So I'd love to know if Joey is with us or not. And he is, which is awesome. That is awesome. Joey, at any moment, feel free to comment if you have questions or if you want to clarify anything that I'm saying. This is a back and forth. This is your time to shine. So let's do this thing, all right? All right, so we've got a 12-team SuperFlex league, half PPR, but a full point for tight ends. Start 9, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. Okay, start 9, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. So maybe one flex. He says, what's up, guys? Signed up for the Mother Flocker using your code when I read on the website you guys are also based in Australia. Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. Where in Australia are you living then? He says, started this Dynasty League last year and tried to draft young while attempting to tank in the first season. A few hits, a few misses, but I think my team has potential. Traded David Montgomery at the start of the season for a first rounder, which ended up being the 108. That's a good deal. Made some moves recently to move from the 104 and the 108. Ended up getting the 102 and the 105. I had to give away my 2025 first. Oh, no. I just released a video about those picks, but I own all my future picks despite not having a lot of later capital in this draft. Yeah, I don't know if, Joe, you had a chance to watch the video I released this morning for us, in the afternoon for everyone over there in the U.S., but I actually talked about 2025 picks specifically. Yeah, Exploit Your Leagues is called, and Chestnut Checkers is the link in case anybody wants to watch it. But I specifically talked about the 2025 class and how I don't love the idea of not owning your first, but we'll see. Let's see what the team looks like. He says more wins than Kangas has the 101, and I'm 90% sure he will go Caleb Williams. The team that has the 103 is madly in love with quarterbacks, and despite having good ones already on his roster, will probably still draft quarterback for trade value. That's smart. The team at the 104 is desperate for a quarterback, so we'll take whichever is left. Assumably, I will end up with Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors if I go BPA, unless there's a surprise ahead of me. This will leave my quarterback room with 2 strong starters in Herbert and Love, but not much depth behind it. Would love to hear your advice on how to approach this draft, given that this league is fairly difficult to trade in, as other teams always assume they are being fleeced. Yeah, that's not uncommon nowadays. It's more difficult to trade than it was 2 years ago in Dynasty, no doubt. My original thoughts were potentially taking a swing on Spencer Rattler type at the 210 if he's available, but might be too early, or try and trade for a mid-range veteran for depth. Thanks in advance, and congratulations and good luck to the birth of your baby, Badaki. Yes, sir. Yeah, Badaki is away doing baby tings right now. But okay, lots of context. That's great. I'm sure we'll come back to this and reference it. But we will get the whiteboard out at some point as well. Oh, from Brisbane. Okay, nice. Up in Queensland, mate. The Maroons, then. It's all about the Maroons for you, then. I'm not going to pretend like I know much about State of Origin, but I know my Australian friends care about it. So, up the Blues. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend. I'm not gonna embarrass myself right now. But if you guys can hear that phone, I'm sorry. But let's have a look at the squad. Team name is Kiss My Haas. Wonder if you're an F1 fan, Haas. But you are second ranked according to Keep Trade Cut. Let me turn that phone off. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, gang. Wife is taking a shower, and her phone is outside with an alarm going off. But here we are. We're back. All right, Kiss My Haas. All right, let's have a look at the squad we've got together, keeping in mind that it is a super flex, half PPR. There's a tight end premium, start 9, 3 wide receivers, and a flex, which means that you've got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, 5, 6, 7. Tight end and flex. Okay, right. So we can start 4 wide receivers at a time. Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, let's have a look at the squad here. So at quarterback, we have Herbert, Love, Lance, Hooker, Stidham, and Trask. So yeah, you're right. Outside of Herbert and Love, you know, there isn't much depth. I mean, the good news though is that this is a very strong quarterback room. You know, you're certainly not weak at quarterback here. But obviously, it just doesn't have the depth that you would ideally want. Running back room, Rachaad White, Tajay, Warren, Madison. It's a great group. I'm not, you know this. It's not an elite group for sure, but if I put a letter grade on it, I put like a B+, somewhere around there. It's a decent group. It's to the point where like I don't feel a massive need to make drastic moves at this point. unless a good offer presents itself. At wide receiver, we have Wilson, Olave, Williams, Dotson, Michael Wilson. So yeah, we've got good players, just a lot of them haven't performed. And the good news is, we talked about this earlier, you know, you mentioned it's very likely you end up with Marvin and then Malik Neighbors. Your team could definitely use those 2 additions. I think those 2 additions really do suit your team. You've got Mark Andrews, Kraft, Brevin Jordan. And our draft picks we've got are 102, our 210. No 2025 first round pick. Joey, I'd love to know what the deal was where you lost your 2025 first round pick. Like I mentioned in today's video, I talked about the 2025 class, how it's being undervalued right now. And I'm just curious what deal we made. Of course, we can't go back and change that, but just be curious to see what that deal was. But this team feels like it has a lot of good pieces around it. 12-team, SuperFlex, start 9, tight end premium. You've got a consensus top 4 tight end in Dynasty. You know, you've got 2 good wide receivers. You're about to add 2 more in a start 4 wide receiver league. You've got running backs that you can start that are competent. You've got 2 superstar quarterbacks. So, really, the only thing the only thing we can really talk about I'm not going to say in depth, but like that is the unknown is the 210 as far as what we can move it with, right? Because I'm looking at your quarterbacks. I don't want to move off Herbert or Love. Those are the guys that I want. I want to build around them long term. There's no need to move those guys. When I look at your running backs, I'm not super interested in moving off these names. I mean, Jaylen Warren could be an exception. It would depend on what sort of offer you could get in return for him. When I look at your wide receivers, I guess we can't have a conversation about Olave for sure. We'll talk about that. But Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Michael Wilson, Jalen Hyatt, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, like none of these names are going to get you a good return in the market right now. So those aren't names that we should be looking to trade away because, quite simply put, they're not going to get a very good return. And then Mark Andrews is a great tight end to keep in this format, so there's no reason to move off of him either. Joey says the 108 and a 25 first for Warren and the 105. Okay. I don't hate the deal. But man, we've talked about this on a couple of streams. I'm not sure how often you've been with us on our rookie mocks, the live ones. There's a scenario where later first round picks become much more valuable this year. I know that's not common. I'm not saying it will happen, but we've talked about if JJ can slip into the first somewhere, if Bo Nix can slip into the first somewhere, if more of these wide receivers can get into the first round than we have in previous years, there's a scenario that 108 gains value from now until the NFL draft. Of course, look, we can't go back and change anything. I just wish Jaylen Warren was a stronger name. I wish that was a stronger asset that we got back in return. But like we have said many times, the top 5 is gold. So that trade could definitely still pan out for you. He says, I made this deal straight after the fantasy season finished and have regretted it since following you lately. And look, here's the thing, right? If your team is good, your team is in a position, though, where if an injury or two occurs, then that first could become more valuable. But let's say, best case scenario, we add some wide receivers with these first round picks. Your players stay healthy. There's a scenario where you're competing for a championship team with this young team like this, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and say like you have to feel bad about making that trade or anything. But y'all know I love owning the destiny of my team moving forward. The flexibility, I guess, is a better way to say it. But let's pull out the whiteboard. Should we, ladies and gentlemen? Should we pull out the whiteboard? And this is Joey T from Brizzy. All right. So, option number 1. Let's call it scenario. Scenario 1. Styles loves it. So we'll talk about the 101. We'll just talk about all the possibilities that could happen. And keep in mind, guys, you know, the combine's about to happen next week. And who knows who rises up boards, right? Who knows who falls drastically down boards based off the combine. Now, I don't think any of the guys that we love are going to drastically fall because I think they're all very good athletes. But like I said, you know, stay water with this kind of stuff. But scenario 1, at the moment, we have the 102 and the 105. So this is us here. We're sitting pretty at the 102 and the 105. And let's talk through a couple different ways that this draft could go. Now, we don't own the draft, if that makes sense. We don't determine the draft, right? So this decision is going to be made for us. You talked about how the 101, you believe that team is going to take Caleb Williams. I believe you said you're 90% sure. I mean, that is very, very sure. He's got Allen, Young, Will Levis, Kenny Pickett. Yeah, there's very little reason for him not to go Caleb Williams. But at the same time, look at that wide receiver room. So don't rule out him going Marvin. As crazy as that sounds, that wide receiver room is struggling. In fact, looking at your league, props to your league for having like relatively... You know, look, there's always one team that's like, what's happening? But even this team isn't bad. But props to your... I mean, look at that quarterback room. Props to your league for not falling apart. This is a pretty well-balanced, evenly powered league. So props to your squad for that. But like we said, you do not control the draft. The draft is going to be determined by what happens in front of you. So this is fairly simple, right? Option 1, Caleb Williams goes off the board. Option 2, Marvin Harrison Jr. comes off the board. Okay, these are the two scenarios we're working within, and you know it's quite simple. Whichever one is available to you, you take next. All right, this is not a team or a scenario where if Marvin isn't available, you know, you have to force a different player in there. You can still go Caleb. I know you got Herbert. I know you got Love. But if Caleb ends up being the #1 overall pick, just take him. There's no reason to not take the #1 overall pick, how talented he is. And it's just some people overthink that. So these are the two scenarios that we're playing out. And from what it sounded like, you said you feel fairly confident that May and Daniels are going to be the 103 and the 105. Now, you have to keep in mind, though, that, you know, every year something happens. A trade happens. People don't like a landing spot. A player falls a little bit. So don't rule out the scenario in which a Neighbors goes to one of these teams either. And that could be very interesting for your team as well. The great position that you're in is that really you can't lose. I really don't think that you can lose at these two picks. But let's look at the teams that have the 103 and the 104. Let's try and find those guys. Okay, so this is team 103. You mentioned in your context that he's madly in love with quarterbacks. So you think he'll take quarterbacks. But what happens if Malik Neighbors goes to the Chargers? You know what I mean? Does that guy... I mean, look at his wide receiver room. It's not bad. But there's no Malik Neighbors here. I love JSN. I want him to become, you know, the #1 weapon on an offense. But you got a lot of twos right now. And I think JSN will become the one there at some point. But you hear what I'm saying? You got no solidified top 8 guy. So if Neighbors goes to the Chargers, you never know what could happen. I mean, that guy could say, damn, my quarterbacks are great. I'm going to go Malik Neighbors here and build around this wide receiver room. He says 103 spot more likely to take Neighbors instead of quarterback. The 104 needs quarterback. Okay. So that's another scenario that we can play out in our head. And the 104 you mentioned you believe is going quarterback. And yeah, why wouldn't they? Look at that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is their quarterback too. So yeah, they're absolutely going quarterback. So two scenarios that can play out, and both I think benefit you. No matter what happens at the 101, take Caleb or Marv, in my opinion. Now, look, I will say, for me, this is why I say everything is water. It's fluid. I have Malik Neighbors and Marvin in the same exact tier. And if you're going to tell me that Marvin goes to New England and is going to have, what, Mac Jones throwing him the football, you know, if they get Kirk Cousins, it's a different scenario. But if Marvin goes to New England and Malik goes to Arizona, I believe that they are equal talents. Some people are going to hate me for saying that. You know, I've taken that hate this all this offseason. But that would be enough for me to consider Neighbors over Marvin at that point. So, you know, keep things fluid as you go. And I know it's taboo. People are going to hate that I'm even suggesting it. But like I said, you know, stay fluid, stay tuned to the channel. And, you know, you can hear our thoughts. You can hear other people in the industry's thoughts and make the best decision moving forward. But let's assume that Marvin's a Cardinal and Caleb is a Bear, right? That's what we're assuming here. So, in this scenario where we get Marvin, again, who's falling to us? Because we're either getting Drake May, we're either getting Jaden Daniels, or we're getting Malik Neighbors, right? The way that you explained it in the context, it's likely that you do get Neighbors in that scenario, which isn't bad, honestly. Like, that suits your team a lot. So it feels like our roster after that first round is concluded is likely, you know, we'll see what happens, but it is likely that you have Herbert, Jordan Love, Rachaad White, Tajay Spears. That's 4. At wide receiver, you're starting Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Olave in the flex, and at tight end, you're starting Mark Andrews. So that is one hell of a team. That is one hell of a team you put together just then. So the other way that could go is Neighbors isn't available, and you have a May or Daniels, and then, you know, you're starting Warren at the flex, you know, instead of Jameson Williams or Dotson, or maybe Dotson or Williams kind of break out and you can start those guys at the flex. So you have some flexibility with this team, which is great. Now, let's say you do go wide receiver. Let's say scenario 1 is what happens. Now, if that were to happen, what can we do with the 210? Right? If that were to happen, what are some options that we have at the 210? Well, why don't we just look at Keep Trade Cut first? These aren't my rankings, but let's look at their rankings, or rather their calculator, and let's see what sort of quarterbacks are in that range. Because we have to acknowledge that this is the most widely used calculator. I don't think it's the best calculator by far, but it is the most widely used. So Baker's probably unattainable, but let's start there. Let's see what the old Keep Trade Cut calculator says. So yeah, Baker looks very unattainable. I think you'd have to kind of dip into the Kirk Cousins tier. And look, Keep Trade Cut is saying that that's impossible. I've seen that trade happen. I've seen that trade happen 10 times this offseason. I've bought Kirk Cousins multiple times for a late second, right? I've bought him for multiple thirds and a player I didn't really like. So, you know, granted, that was closer to the Achilles tear than it was now, but that's a name that you could start conversations around. How about Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones could be an option for you. Now, do we feel great about Daniel Jones? No. But all indications thus far are that the Giants are going to stick with Daniel Jones. They don't believe that bringing in another quarterback is going to help them at their position. Now, look, if they trade up and do something wild, that could be different. But it's the same GM that, you know, put all of these pieces around Daniel Jones. He is fighting for his job. This guy is fighting for his job. One more step where he takes a wrong direction, the Giants GM could be gone. So what's more likely, them drafting a new quarterback with what they had around Daniel Jones last year, or adding a weapon, adding an offensive lineman, right? You decide that for yourself. But if I will say this with 100,000% certainty, if Daniel Jones starts the year as the starter for the Giants, he will gain value from now to then, without a doubt in my mind. without a doubt. The only other name that I really like in this territory that's doable is probably Rodgers. And yeah, I thought he might be even cheaper than that. Unfortunately, you don't have any like 3rd or 4th round picks, do you? No. Yeah. I don't hate the idea of like sending a future 3rd for like an Aiden O'Connell either. I don't hate that idea. But look, let's also address, Joey, that you don't have to make a move for quarterback right now anyway. Both of your quarterbacks, Herbert and Love, will be healthy heading into the season, right? So you don't need to address that position. If one of those guys were to go down, then you could address a position. And obviously look through bye weeks, it's going to be tough. But if those guys stay healthy and they're heading into the playoffs healthy, then you won't really need to have addressed the position. But obviously, all I'm saying is there's flexibility. You don't have to do anything right here, right now, as we're sitting in February when fantasy points start to matter. It's September, right? But those are some realistic options, I'd say, for the 210. We talked about Kirk Cousins probably being unrealistic. Daniel Jones being more realistic, and Aaron Rodgers definitely being realistic. Aaron Rodgers is the most realistic. In fact, you might be able to get Aaron Rodgers and a 3rd back in return. I think that's, let's say, like a mid-3rd in 2025. Something like that. Could be a possibility. You could send a 2025 4th to even it out. Right? So that's a possibility for you. Aaron Rodgers, I believe he's got 2 years left. Some people think he has 1, but I think he wanted to give that city 2 years. One of those years was taken away from him, so I think they'll go year-by-year basis after that contract ends. But the good news is, no matter what happens with your first 2 picks, you're going to be improving your team drastically. And I don't mind Stafford. Brock brought up Stafford as well. It's just something weird in the air right now. I'll definitely add him. There's just something weird in the air. I don't know. Do you guys... I don't have any like insider information. If I could get him for a 3rd, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Or even like the 210 for Stafford in a 3rd or something, right? The same deal we talked about with Rodgers. I would do that same deal for Matt. But something is weird in the air. I don't know. Maybe I could be overreacting. But yeah, this is a very good team, like Style says. This is a very, very good team. You're in a great position. And I don't really think you can lose based on what happens in your rookie draft. Yeah, you really can't. But like we said, ideal starting lineup as the year begins. Herbert, Love, White, Spears, Wilson, Olave. At the flex spot, well, we'll go Marvin as well. At the flex spot, Neighbors. You can put Olave there, whatever. And then Mark Andrews. Now, the one name we did mention is Chris Olave. I'm not sitting here saying that you have to pivot away from Chris Olave. What I am saying is he has been one of my favorite pivot names in Dynasty this offseason. I've done multiple deals where I've pivoted off of Olave for Rashee Rice in a 2025 first. You know, I've pivoted off of Chris Olave. Let me bring up some names in some deals that I've done. For DJ Moore in a 2025 first, right? Some of those I've added 3rds. For Drake London in a future first. For Nico Collins in a future first. For Tank Dell in a future first. And again, it's not that I don't like Chris Olave. But he has stuck with Derek Carr for quite some time. And the volume was there last year. So I just have lower expectations. And I think everyone loves his name. Guys, no one was higher on Chris Olave coming out of college than myself. I promise you that. I was higher on him than I was Garrett Wilson. But people aren't being realistic with the fantasy points he's actually putting up. Everyone's valuing him as like a locked and loaded top 6 dynasty wide receiver. But he's stuck in a shitty situation that's not changing anytime soon. And how does this situation get better than it was last year? Why would the Saints not consider adding wide receiver this offseason? Derek Carr's not going to get better. Do you know what I mean? So, in my opinion, Olave is a great pivot down because we all love the name. Everybody wants Chris Olave. I mean, I pivoted in season from Olave to Puka Nacua and a future first, for example, right? So again, those names, guys who are putting up similar production or should soon, DJ Moore, Drake London, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, all these names I am super comfortable pivoting off of him, assuming I get a future first in return in those deals. But obviously, I want to leave time in case, Joey, you have any specific questions for me. Again, you don't have to pivot off of him. Those are some options. This is a team, that's in a great position. You don't necessarily have to pivot down. But I think there are players who are going to give you similar production this year, and they're cheaper, and you get more capital in the future. So it's definitely something to consider. But Joey, let me know if you have any questions that you wanted me to answer that I didn't cover, or any trades that are out there that you wanted to explore. I want to make sure we give you as much time as possible. So let me know, brother. Let me know. Derek, guys, look. See, this is the problem. Anytime we say pivot off of a name, people are like, what? You don't like this guy? That's ridiculous. Don't move him. There's no way. And I'm not saying you're saying that, Derek. But guys, calm down. Calm down. I'm saying pivot off of him for future draft capital and a player who is going to give you similar production. Okay? If you own Chris Olave, you do not need to panic right now. You can absolutely explore pivot options, but you don't need to panic. Okay. Oh my gosh. So out of context, guys. You can't say anything about these top names. I'll just tell you guys from my personal experience, I have a lot of Chris Olave, and I pivoted off about half of my stock to names that I love with really good future draft capital. So again, if you're out there and you have Chris Olave, feel free to at least try it. Doesn't mean that Chris Olave isn't a good player. It doesn't mean that we don't love Chris Olave on this channel. But it also means we're trying to be realistic about his points per game. He averaged, he was 25th in points per game as a rookie, and he was 19th in points per game last year. And we're all valuing him as a locked and loaded top 6 option. Derek Carr isn't going anywhere, guys. If you love Olave, pivot off of him and buy him next year. Same thing I was saying about DJ Moore for years, and I took so much shit for it. But, Joey, let me know if you have any last-minute questions. We are going to get on to the next team. So I'll just set that up as I wait in here if you got any more questions. But NK1 is the next team here. So we will set him up. Of course, like I mentioned, we'll wait to see if Joey has any last-minute questions. We'll leave his team up there because I want to make sure we give him enough time to reply. But we will load NK1's team. I see him in the chat as well. Derek did donate a super chat. He says Pittman or Tank Dell. Yeah, these guys are in the same tier for me. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I can double check what my rankings say, but like I said, both in the same tier. I don't feel strongly enough to have a strong opinion either way. They're literally back-to-back in my rankings. So choose whichever one you like more, honestly. Which player do you like more? You're not going to make the wrong move there. Josh has traded Olave for Fields and got bashed. Am I crazy or is it a good move? I mean, that move carries a lot of risk. Like I said, all the moves that I mentioned were moves that you're getting future draft capital, right? You're getting future 25 firsts, assets that will not be as risky as an asset like a Justin Fields, right? But if Fields does develop, if he goes to Atlanta and he leads them to the playoffs and gets a long-term contract, you'll probably have won that if it's a SuperFlex format. Carr just missed so many deep balls. Could definitely see that grow with some chemistry. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Carr's just going to be there for a while. So if we're betting on Derek Carr's quarterback play at this point of his career, you know, let's see. Let's see. I love Olave. I got enough stock of him, but NK1 says, I sold Olave for a haul to an Ohio State fan. What did you get back, NK1? Well, I'm not hearing anything from Joey. Joey says, what about quarterbacks for Olave? No, I wouldn't go that route personally. I wouldn't go that route because I don't think there's like a really good natural pivot there. I mean, the first thing that comes up would be a Kyler Murray. I wonder what Keep Trade Cut even thinks about a move like that. Yeah, Kyler Murray was the first thing that came to mind for me. But outside of his name, there's not really like, you're not going to get the Burrows of the world or the Herberts or the Hurts. And you could probably get a Brock Purdy, but I think with your team right now, I think you benefit from staying in that wide receiver room. Especially if you end up keeping Chris Olave. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to see if Joey has him. I could trade him and replace wide receiver with the 210. No, you could, but you're not going to get a Olave level replacement. But Joey, definitely feel free to DM us on your fantasy hotline with any questions that do come in. We appreciate you supporting the show big time, man. That's very, very kind of you. To everybody watching, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button. Simple way for you to help this channel grow. Over 80 people watching. Let's get to 50 likes. We're about halfway there already. Do me a favor. Go ahead and smash that like button. Trevor says he sold Olave and a 2 for Higgins and a 25 in Ramondre. Yeah, I like that. I like that pivot. I like that pivot. Yeah, look, the Saints offensive coordinator could help for sure. All right, guys, so we're going to move on to the next team, but I want to let y'all know how you can get your team reviewed by yours truly. Very, very, very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I'll put a direct link in the chat in case you are interested. Again, go to the Flock Fantasy website. Make sure you're signing up with the promo code LAND. You can use the direct link in the chat. When you become a Mother Flocker member, you can go to account and then link your Discord. Once you have linked your Discord, all three of those things, you will then see the roster submissions text channel under the Fantasyland part of the server. Now, if you do opt and keep the 7-day free trial, then you'll just have to wait 7 days for your roster review. But if you decide to go instant access and skip that free trial, you'll get obviously instant access to a team review. Like, you'll be next up on deck, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers everyone's questions. And Joey says, I agree with you on everything. Thank you for the review. That's great to hear. All right, let's get on to NK1's team. I know NK1 is in the chat, so that's going to be great to have him here. And let's read a little context. Why don't we? Let's first just make sure we mark this as good to go. NK1 says 10 team, 1 quarterback switching to SuperFlex in 2027. Three years away. Damn, that is a long time for a switch. That is a long time for a switch. Derek, no worries, man. Thank you for the super chat. I said just wanted to say thank you, bro. No worries at all, man. We appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Why so long? Like, hey guys, in 17 years, we're gonna switch to Titan Premium. But it's one quarterback right now, 1 point per reception, half Titan Premium, start 7. So this is a small league. It's 10 team. It's one quarterback, and it's a start 7. That changes almost everything. Okay, it's a start 8. You said. Start 8. Okay, even a one quarterback start 8, 10 teamer, that changes everything. I do not care about depth pieces as much. I don't care about names like Jalen Warren. I don't care about names like Will Levis, Deshaun Watsons of the world. I start to care way less about these middle of the packs, your Swifts, your Charbonnets, your Fords, your Chase Browns. I honestly don't really care about Quentin Johnston's, Pickens, Calvin Ridley's, your Kirks, your Deontay Johnsons, your Josh Downs, your Jahan Dotsons. I also don't really care in this format about your Greg Dulcich, your Dalton Schultz, Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goederts. All these names, not that they don't matter, but they don't move the needle at all in this format, right? So we want big hitters, but let's read the context. Hi guys, love all the content your channel produces. It is really helpful, and you guys seem like awesome people. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. Have been loving the trade calculator so far. Really need some help with this team, as I believe I ran it into the ground. I took on this orphan team last year after it came second to last and didn't really understand how Dynasty worked. I traded all I had for vets. Okay, that's tough. So you got Diggs, Evans, CMC, Kelsey, and went on this epic run to play second in the league. After doing so, I began rebuilding, and it was going extremely well until I got trade happy and made a couple trades. Too many that really burned some value. My last trade, which really put me in a pickle, was Puka, the 103, the 110 for JJ. Okay. I am ready to embrace the long rebuild process. The catch is that our league is switching to SuperFlex in 2027. Do I take advantage of this and completely strip down and make SuperFlex trades at one quarterback value? For example, do I send JJ and go get Stroud in the 106? Right, where Caleb will land. As that would double my value when we switch to SuperFlex. Or even just target the 107. That will be a top 3 quarterback. Recently tiered down from Olave for a Tank Reed Hawk package. I like that. See, this is what I'm talking about, gang. Love it. Would appreciate... And, like, the thing is, Olave and Tank Dell, I don't personally feel like they're going to have that different level of production this year. I could be wrong. Would appreciate any help if possible with this Dynasty dumpster fire. Thanks again, fellas, and many blessings towards a new child for Badaki. Let me know if you need any more info from me. All right. So... Let me explain to you why my mind is in 2 different directions right now, NK1. Okay? What's up, MP? Welcome in. My mind is in 2 different directions because I understand... My dog is going crazy. Give me a second, guys. Sorry. 1 second. All right, sorry about that. All right, so my brain's in two different directions. Because I have a couple questions first. Number one, who is this league with? Is it with people that you know and you love? Is it with like really good friends, really close people? Or is it like a random league that you joined on one of these websites that offer like random leagues where you fill it? So that would be my first question. Okay, it is really close friends. Now, how dedicated are these close friends to Dynasty? Do they absolutely love it? Or are you guys doing it because you're all friends? Now, the reason I'm asking these questions is because 3 years, that's a long time, man. That's a long time to be rebuilding. Very dedicated, will be around for a while. Okay. Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, your goal is to win championships. It is to win your buyback, your buy-in back, and more. So, I think I'm having a difficult time fundamentally being excited about for 3 years in a row just probably not competing. Because at that point, you're just donating money. But if this is a group of really close friends and you feel confident that they're going to be in it for the long run, you can go that direction. Just know, we've seen it time and time again on this channel where people have talked about really close friends, and you probably are, but maybe they get disinterested. And what happens if you are about to go into year 3 and you're about to compete and everyone's like, I don't really care anymore, right? The teams that were winning the championships the last couple of years because they had really good teams and they weren't focused on the future, they're less interested now, right? And they're like, find someone to replace me. Then someone else says, find someone to replace me. And then all of a sudden, you've rebuilt for 3 years and no one cares about the league anymore, right? So just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. There are 2 ways you can go about it, but just be careful because 2027 is so far away. That is so far away. And if you are going to commit to like the SuperFlex build, you could get some great values, but it will only matter if the league really matters then. Okay? But let's look at the team. I just want to say that because you probably can make some really great moves where you can get quarterbacks, but think about how we view quarterbacks today. I mean, 3 years ago, Russell Wilson was a superstar fantasy quarterback. Actually, why don't we look at ADP 3 years ago? This might be a really interesting process. Let's see. Let me log in real quick. Just so you kind of get where I'm coming from. Styles says, we'll be glad for me to commit to a SuperFlex build right now. So much can change. Waffle Boy says, I just woke up. Glad I could watch. Welcome in. NK1 says, I probably overestimate my own patience. Let's look at ADP. I want to look at ADP with you. If that's cool. Is it cool if we take a second? If you're like, dude, I don't really care that much, we'll move on. But I think it's worth looking at. ADP. Let me look at this. ADP over time? Is that it? I'm trying to remember what tool I'm trying to build up. Trying to pull up over on DLF. Let me find it. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Because I guarantee you it's going to be shocking to see what ADP looked like 3 years ago. Let's have a look, shall we? Come on, dude. Why is this so difficult to bring up? What tool was that I literally was using this tool yesterday. Oh man, there's so many tools that I use. Is it resource? Maybe it is just Dynasty ADP. I hope this is worth it. I'm sorry. Okay. I think I found it. Let's have a look here. This is January 2024 SuperFlex ADP. So let's go back 3 years. 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look. So 3 years ago, Deshaun Watson was quarterback 3. Saquon Barkley was a first-round pick. Pat Mahomes was young, but he was still that dude. You got Dak Prescott, a locked and loaded first-round pick. Devontae Adams was a wide receiver 1. Alvin Kamara was a wide receiver 4. DK Metcalf was a wide receiver 2. Dalvin Cook was a RB 5. Aaron Rodgers was quarterback 8. Russell Wilson was quarterback 9. I mean, so many of these names are just not even relevant anymore. Not to say they're not relevant, but like Deshaun Watson completely fell apart. Saquon Barkley didn't fall apart, but not worth RB2 anymore, right? Devontae Adams, obviously, we know this, not wide receiver 1. Alvin is not a top 5 running back anymore. Dalvin Cook is almost out of the league. Derrick Henry is 31 years old now. Russell Wilson might not even have a starting job. Aaron Rodgers is old. J.K. Dobbins never became the player we thought he could be. DeAndre Hopkins is holding on to his last life. Ryan Tannehill was a top 12 quarterback at that time. So I think there is a scenario where you talked about like going out and getting Stroud. Like that could potentially work. But it wouldn't be the first time that a player started their career really well and then things went sideways, right? We believe in Stroud here. We think Stroud's going to pan out long term, but all I'm saying is I would have a tough time being that patient. I have a tough time with a 1-year rebuild. Do you know what I mean? So I think I might have a difficult time being that patient, but you know yourself better than me. Obviously. So you've got to kind of make that decision, but yeah, I just don't think I could be that patient. Waiting 3 years, knowing how big is the buy-in, by the way? I mean, because if it's a $10 buy-in, you know, who cares at that point? But let's have a look at the team. I think that's the first thing that we should do at this point. Your team name is Tank for Travion. GG's. Am I right? Travion didn't come out, unfortunately. But we are ranked last. $25. We do it more for pride. Sure. Style says, dang, crazy to think CMC and Saquon were first-round startup picks. I don't know if I can even take a non-quarterback / wide receiver in SuperFlex in the first round. Yeah, I know, right? So you are currently given a grade of 48 out of 100. And it looks like there is one team that is just set to absolutely dominate this league for a while. He's got Mahomes. He's got Purdy. He's got 39 running backs. He's got Chase, Kirk, Cooper, Wilson, Kincaid. He's also got the 101. But let's have a look at the squad. Okay, we have Jalen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Antonio Gibson, Justin Jefferson, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, TJ Hawkinson, Luke Schoonmaker, and Noah Fant. NKH1 says he tanked and sold all of his players for picks and tanked for Marvin. We clowned him all season. Yes. So look, you mentioned that this was a team that you orphaned and you tried to go all in year one. Could we get back to the playoffs with this team this year? Yes, I think we could. Do I think this team could easily fall apart? Yes, I also do believe that it could easily fall apart. Especially looking at this running back room. That could easily go sideways. Oh, dude, this is so difficult. You have like no future picks either. Dang. Well, look, here's the reality. You do have your 2025 first round pick, which is great. I think at minimum, if you're going to like commit to a 3-year rebuild, which again, I don't love the idea, but I can see looking at your team why you might want to do that. You need to get some of your picks back. Ideally, your 25 second. Ideally, your 26 first round pick. I mean, I'll be honest. I think honesty is important. I think you're in a really, really bad situation. And that's probably not the positivity that you wanted to hear. But I think this is in a really, really tough spot. NK1 says, Team Red Ball was considering London plus JSN and the rest of this 2024 picks for his 25 first and JJ. That's interesting. Drake London and JSN for the rest of his 2024 picks and his 25 first for JJ. So let's talk about that. Team Red Ball. Where's Team Red Ball? So this guy knows that depth doesn't really matter that much, and he wants to go all in. The rest of his 24 picks and his 25 first. So, correct me if I'm wrong. You are saying that this player is offering you Jackson Smith and Jigba, Drake London, the 106, the 204, the 207, the 302, 304, and his 25 first for Justin Jefferson. Is that right? Let's write this out. Shout out to Joey. So you're saying Justin Jefferson. He's going to give you Drake London, JSN, the 106. What else did he have? Let's just do it this way. This is probably easier. And my first question is, was that his initial offer? That would be my first question to you. So this is the offer that we're looking at. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, it was not the first trade. So this is where you've gotten to after multiple counters is what it sounds like you're saying. See, here's the thing. Most people in the chat are saying it's a no-brainer, it's a smash, and I like 9 times out of 10 I would agree with you. The only reason I'm a little bit hesitant right now is because of your league in particular. Keep in mind, guys, 10-man, smaller league, start 8, small rosters. Guys like Justin Jefferson should return absolute gold. That 106 also is less valuable in this format because it is one quarterback. Again, you know, right? So another thing we have to consider here. Because keep in mind, right now, you're starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You probably have 2 flexes. So a guy like Justin Jefferson, like in this format, in a startup draft, is probably like one of the first picks off the board. So this is much closer, I think, than face value shows us. Let's have a look at what the calculator says. Is there a tight end premium here? I can't remember. There is, yeah. I will say, if you do trigger this move, I want your 25 first back before you do. If you make this move without your 25 firsts, it's going to be infinitely harder to get that back. Again, so something to keep in mind. All right, we got 10-man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is one flex. Oh, but it's one quarterback right now. My bad. 2 flex. Okay, right. So this is the league that we're looking at right now. So we got Justin. We've got 106 was in there. Now keep in mind, guys, that 25 is going to be a late first. This team that he is giving Justin Jefferson to has A-Rich, Dak, ETN Pacheco, Lamb, all these wide receivers. Add Justin Jefferson there. That 25 first, that team's going to be competing. So that's going to be late. 204, 207, 302, 304. I'm going to tell you another way we can maybe get this deal done where it makes more sense for you. But 204, 207, 302, 304. 204, 207. 204, 207. 204, 207. 204, 207. We had 2/3, right? We don't have third round picks on there, do we? Oh, we do. 2024 third. 2024 third. And then it was London and Jackson, Smith and Jigba, right? So what do my rankings say? I'd be very curious. Yeah. Because of this format, dude. And I guarantee you Keep Trade Cut is like, holy shit, you're winning this deal by a mile. Let's have a look. Again, because you can't customize it like that, can you? I wonder if it says JSN and Drake London are almost... I mean... Guys, this is the issue with Keep Trade Cut. This is the issue with it. It does not consider any context. There is an inherent flaw where superstars are not valued. You are seeing that example right here, right now. The number one player, by the way, in a one quarterback format is Justin Jefferson. And they're saying, yeah, man, this is fine. Go get JSN and Drake London. You got to take advantage of these calculators. Now, in this scenario, it's not going to help you, right? But our calculator will help you understand the true value of a player like Justin Jefferson. But isn't that crazy? We haven't added a single pick yet. And Keep Trade Cut's like, yeah, go for it, guys. Go do it. What are you on about? That is crazy. But all these picks here, my man, we'll put those in red. I do not give a single fuck. I'm sorry. But in your format, I don't give a fuck about these picks. I just don't. I just don't. So what else does he have? He does have CD. We don't really need to worry about running back at this point. And we'd want A-Rich if we were doing a trade and thinking Superflex, but he's probably not going to give A-Rich away. Kyle Pitts isn't a bad ad, but he probably is going to need Kyle Pitts. Ooh, you know what, though? I like a Pitts-Hawkinson swap here, too. Look, I'm taking you through like we are rebuilding. Okay? So just purely thinking 3 years ahead from now, I like adding a Pitts-Hawkinson swap. And that's going to help that manager anyway because he needs to compete. We don't need to add this. But what I want to do is I want to get rid of all these picks and actually add something that matters. So I'm not only going to ask for your 2025 first round pick. I also want your 26 first round pick, my friend. Because he has that, doesn't he? He's got his 2026 first round picks. So, hey, keep all of these. I don't need them. Try and keep the 204 in there. But I do not care about those picks in this format. You're talking 1 quarterback, 10 man, start 8. I don't care. I just do not care. It's not going to move the needle for me. But this is the kind of deal I think that I'm starting to like a little bit more. How do we feel about that, chat? How do we feel about that? Considering the context now, does that feel better? I like the players that you're getting. JSN and London. 2 unproven guys that are young that we like. Adding a quarterback doesn't make sense. So what we did is we took away all those seconds except for that 1. And we added, which we don't have 2026 picks on the site, but let's just add another 2025 first for the sake of this trade. So the calculator still says you're losing because, again, Justin Jefferson, we're trying to even out that value. I would say at minimum, this is the offer you're accepting. The offer you currently have is not bad. It's not a bad offer, but when we go into all the context that we just talked about, considering your format, it just doesn't make sense for you. Hey, if you told me it was a start 11, okay, maybe it's a different conversation. But a 10-man start 8, Justin Jefferson's a god. He is the god in this league. NK1 says, people all around are crazy for JJ. At first, I thought I don't tear down because the calculator kept saying I'm getting robbed, but this is really helpful. So this is an option for you. Now, I doubt this guy wants to get rid of CeeDee Lamb because he wants to compete. You know what you could also do? Instead of, if you didn't want to add Kyle Pitts to this deal and TJ Hawkinson, if you wanted to sell Hawkinson as a loan asset, you could actually just add Michael Mayer to that deal as well. See, that's an option as well. Let's put that as trade 2. Because then you can use Hawkinson as trade bait for your own trade. Here's what I'll say, though. If you do want to pursue a deal like this... Oh, you mixed up Hawkinson and Pitts, did I? You might be right. You're right. You're right. That's my B. My B. It's probably going to say that you got robbed even more than... But if you want to do this deal, which again, it is very difficult to evaluate like what the most valuable asset in a 1 quarterback 10-man league is worth when it's such a small starting roster. But if you wanted to do this deal, you have got to get your future first back first. Okay? Because if you're going to pull that deal and that hits the inbox and then you try and go get your picks back, sorry, I know what you're doing now. I'm going to now charge you a premium for those picks. Holy moly, that guy's got freaking picks for days. So who has your picks? Tank for Travion. I got my 25, but I got to get my 26 first back to... Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if, you know, the first thing that we talked about was you pretty much punting until 2027. 100%. And like I said, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. But yeah, 1,000%. Try and get that second round pick back. Rest Trevor has his 26. Rest Trevor. Where's Rest Trevor? Oh, it's this dude. Holy hell. So he has your 26 second. He has your 26 first. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a bad beat. What are the pieces to sell to get those picks back? Well, you know, the difficult part is it's going to matter what this owner wants. But I will say, like, he has no real stud running backs. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's got a bunch of guys, but no dude. I'm trying to get... Okay, so again, he has your... All right, so tank for Travion. Let's try and make this easier. So he has your 26 first, your 26 second. So I'm trying to get my 26 first, my 26 second in this format. I think Derrick Henry is your first piece there. Again, we don't have 2026 first in the database, but you can see kind of what I'm trying to say here. Let's say early. It's probably early second. So in your format, a guy who is clearly competing, and by the way, you're in a good position in the sense of like his picks are so stacked that he probably doesn't mind cashing them in to win a championship. He's probably fine to like pivot in that way. So I think Derrick Henry, your running backs are like the first things that I would offer. In fact, I'll give you Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon if it means I can get back those future picks. And like I mentioned, he has so many picks in the future that you can afford to do that. Now, what's his tight end situation look like? He's got Dalton Kincaid. So you could also look at a TJ Hawkinson. In fact, in this format, just like Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson should give you an absolute haul in return. It is a tight end premium. So you can probably get your 26, like if those running backs don't work. The running back would be my number one goal. Mixon and Henry. That's what I would try. If those don't work, we can try and use tight end. Keep in mind, tight end premium league, start 8, 10-man. A guy like Hawkinson is way more valuable in this format than he would be in a 12-man SuperFlex league, no tight end premium. So with the players that he has, we're trying to get our 26, our 22nd for our 26 second and first, and throw me Kendre Miller. Or could you Brock Purdy? It's just too early to trade for quarterbacks in this format. Unless they're really young and you just love them. But can you throw in Kendre Miller? An asset that could gain value in season I could sell. Or I could keep if I want to build around him. It's not really another name that we really like. Could he throw you Luke Musgrave, maybe? I mean, he's got the picks to throw you even more picks. Well, this just isn't accurate, unfortunately. But these are the kind of deals that I would be trying personally. Again, trade number 2. Oh, jeez. Well, trade number 3, I guess, right? We'll call it trade number 3 now. If you're sending away TJ Hawkinson, at minimum, we want our 26 first and our 26 second. That's at minimum in this format. I think you can probably add a Luke Musgrave onto there if he wants. The other option that we talked about with that team is to give him Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and try and get those picks back. Now, this trade, if your league is smart and they're sharp, you probably won't be able to do that until Derrick Henry signs with an NFL team. That's probably the moment where you're able to get that deal done. But at the moment, right now, I would send the offer for sure, but just be a little bit hesitant on that deal getting done right here, right now. JJ for the 101 and my 26 first is something I was offered as well. Okay. I don't hate that deal, but that guy has enough picks where, okay, and here's what's great. We've talked about this with a couple other teams this offseason, but you are leveraging the most valuable player in Dynasty against the 2 teams that are really competing. So I have no problem telling Red Ball, hey, I have this offer on the table. This guy is offering to give me Marvin and my 26 first, but we need a better offer than that first off, right? This is why you don't send official counters, because you're going to try and leverage. You're going to tell team 1, hey, what would you do this offer? What'd you get here? And then if you know that, you can tell the other guy, like, look, I like your offer. I have a better one on the table, right? You start to leverage these guys against each other because they know one person's about to get Justin Jefferson. The other is going to have to play against Justin Jefferson. So the 101 and your 26 first is a fine start, but it's not enough. It's not enough for Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson is what he would get back. And he wants to give you the 101, your 2026 first. I mean, no, that's just not enough. That's just not enough. And that guy's got so many assets. What's this, trade 6 we talked about? That he should not feel a need to hoard those assets. If he does, then he's going to lose out on winning championships. Okay, you want to give me the 101? That's fine. Which one of these picks is the worst in 2025? Is it Raw Doggin? How bad is Raw Doggin's team? So Jomosexuals. So you also want to add Jomosexuals 2025 first to that. We'll add his first to it. We'll add our second, by the way. And because we're getting the 101, we can't be too greedy. But I think we could also slip in like I think we could also slip in like the 210 in there and just take a shot on some upside in this class too. How do you guys feel about that? So in total, what you'd be looking at is the 101, a 2026, which we don't have here, right? We know that. So 26 and a 25 first, the 26 being your own. Your 2026 second, which again, we don't have it. And we'd also be looking at that 210. So there you go. These are the deals that you're building around. You know, come back to this live stream, pause it at any moment, rewatch any part of it. But these are the deals that you're building around. At minimum, those are the type of offers that you're looking for Justin Jefferson. Again, if the other team wants him, this is the kind of offer I'm looking for Justin Jefferson. NK1 says, I know that the pick hoarder owner offered for 25, 26 first for CD. He didn't include the 101. Well, that's just silly. Because why would anyone trade CeeDee Lamb for anything outside of a package like that? So look, if he's not going to be the one that's going to give you an offer, then he's just not the right one to have a deal with. But at the end of the day, you got two guys who are competing for a championship, and you're going to pin them against each other. So in this format, 4 first-round picks wouldn't even get me up in the morning for a CeeDee Lamb. It just wouldn't. So yeah, I think those are the deals you're looking to get, and if you can pin them against each other, great. Otherwise, stand strong unless you get an offer like this. But again, if you're going to get a deal like this done, you need to get your picks back first from Red Ball or from whatever this user Team 1 was, right? So we're going to try TJ Hawkinson. We're going to try our running backs. Those are all the things that you're going to try. But that is the direction I think you should go. If you have the patience. Now, honestly, I was thinking about talking about like the potential to just stay true and to try and keep competing. But your team is so barren. We're just not going to compete. Okay? We're just not going to compete. And if we do, a lot of things need to go our way. A lot of players need to not get injured. So anyway, let me know if you have any final questions, NK1. That was a tough breakdown. Some of it might have been tough to hear as well, but hopefully it was helpful, it was informational, and it was inspirational, hopefully. But anyone who's watching this stream, go ahead, do me a favor, hit that like button. We didn't reach our 50 like goal. We got to 37, which is fine. About 13 likes away, but maybe we can get to 40 here with your help. NK1 says, appreciate that. We'll be hitting you up on the hotline for some of the JJ trades. Yes, inspired to make you proud. Oh, my goodness. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that big time. All right, that's going to be it for today, guys. But again, if you do want your Dynasty team reviewed by yours truly, it's a very, very simple process. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member on the Flock Fantasy website using the promo code LAND. You have got to use the code LAND in order to get our perks. Once you have done that, you can go to account at the top right. Once you've signed up, you can link your Discord. Then you unlock all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab. And keep in mind that if you do opt for the 7-day free trial, you'll have to wait for that trial to end. But that's how you get it done. So we appreciate y'all. And we'll see you guys very soon.